Hey, welcome to another episode of Live with Dr. Ken. I am Dr. Ken Stortz, president and founder of Visible Music College in Memphis, Tennessee, with 8 locations and a lot of partner schools. And we do music and creativity training, higher ed, every single day. I'm here to talk to you about creative topics and love for you to visit the school at visible.edu. And also like and share, tell your friends, hopefully this will be encouraging for you. Today, I'm talking about how to stay current in music. As a musician who's been doing music for 30-something years, it is a great question. I see a lot of people doing music and their style is, sort of the same as it was 2 decades ago back in college, or they only like certain things, they revisiting the old school stuff, which, is totally fine. But I'm a guy who likes to stay current with the thing to get excited about new stuff and to stay current with what's going on, but in a little different way. So when some friends posed the question to me, how do you stay current in music? I basically said, I can't. I cannot stay current in music, because how could anybody, there are literally like 600,000 bands in the world now on the internet or something like this. It's some crazy number that you would just never even, you cannot listen to all the music. In fact, I had a thought one day, does every song that's ever been written have a person that believes it is the best song they've ever heard? Think about that for a minute. Are there enough billion people for everybody to have heard those songs, and every cut on every record, like somebody loves that 8th cut on that 3rd record from that band? I don't think so. Probably not. But anyway, maybe you can be the one that can bring those backtracks alive. But I'm here to talk to you about how to stay current in music the way I think about it. And there's 5 things that I am going to talk to you about: listen, compare, scan, write, and travel. So these 5 things should help you stay current in music. Number 1, listen to young people. Like I said earlier, a lot of older people are doing the same style of music. They've solidified they're the very best jazz whatever, or they're the very best, classical something, or they're the very best blues singer. Fantastic. But if you want to stay current in music, you listen to young people, because what they're doing is amalgamating what they arrived on Earth 2010. Hello. Now I'm listening to kiddie shows. Now I'm listening to something else. Now I've heard Bieber. Now I'm moving into okay, now I've heard this other stuff at the grocery store. Now I went to a concert of classical music. I never even knew classical. Imagine living years never having heard classical music, and so many young kids in environments where you don't hear real instruments even, or something like that. So, but when they start making music, now you have a brand new mind that has heard this new set of stuff, which was not what you heard when you were growing up, even if you're relatively young. So I would contend to listen to young people, not just because you want to find out what the latest artist is, but you want to hear music how they're hearing it if you want to stay current. So current music, when something's deliberately morphed and wavy out of tune, you go oh, that's vaporwave, where they took the stuff that I liked 20 years ago and made it out of tune, maddeningly. Except for somehow it's the new style that's using jazz chords to do out of tune, to do keyboard music or whatever. So as a small example. So number 1, listen to young people. That's where the new stuff is coming from. Now, if you're an older person, you're making avant-garde music, there's some of us out there always trying. I'm gonna get to that in a minute. Okay, listen. Number 2, this is a word I don't usually use to give advice, but I would say compare. So compare to stay current in music, compare what you hear to something that you know before, and spend some time actually with it. Let's take, for example, a track today with some electronically driven hip-hop pop song that's like a mixture of style or something that you've heard this year, and maybe you like it, maybe you don't like it, but it's compare that to, let's say, disco or something. If you ever listen back to disco, if you're a young person, or if you came through the disco era, And like, why is this essentially the same music? People feeling good, dancing, moving to this style of music. So compare, and then why don't you write about it? Uh, I don't, the world probably doesn't need more blogs on why disco and hip hop are similar or something, but just write about it, think about it, really make comparisons. If you want to stay up on what music is doing, you will start to have these pictures of, okay, this music, I'm not particularly a fan, or I'm trying to work it out if I like it on this certain station, but it does remind me of when this other music happened and how people responded, and how, oh yeah, my friends were affected by this music because that great summer we had together or something, so just imagine, I think of this like, I'm not a big, Miley Cyrus fan. She's got a great voice, but like, I don't listen to her music. But when I hear a song like Malibu or something like that, I'm kind of like, oh man, I wish I was young and could have this be my summer song. Like, this reminds me of the song back when I was alive, but I'm like, this song's so good, I wish that was the vibe. So comparing, not being afraid to compare, and to really write and talk about it with somebody. Just we don't stay alive to new music and stay current with what's happening, because we just don't talk to also generally young people or people who are playing that new style of music. So talking about it and comparing, I think it's really a positive experience ultimately for folks. So now that's two. So listen and compare. Number three, scan. And this is my advice. I don't want to see awards given to a bunch of music, people that I don't know. But I would scan award shows and the movies, all the Emmys, all the different award shows, to scan through lists. What is winning awards? What is on the top of the charts? What is the top awarded music right now? These are, for the most part, peer awards, people who are working together and they're giving awards to somebody. This can tell you a lot about where we are in music, current stuff, without having to spend hours on the radio or on your Discord channel, whatever things you have set up to listen to music, and just going, the streaming service not to be named by me, whatever thing that you're using to steal music. Listen to music. So just spend some time scanning through what is the awarded music. What are people loving? What are people recommending? Great way to, this is the College Music Journal of today, where we used to find out about new bands you never heard of, page after page of new bands. But just scan through, the sort of the longer out of the scene actively that you're writing music and you have friends doing the music and being at award shows, you'll start to see fewer and fewer bands that you were like, oh, I knew that. Or it's like going to the Academy Awards and seeing who's up for Best Picture, and you're like, well, I've not seen any of those 5 pictures, So anyway, scan through those. Don't be afraid of that stuff. Just maybe learn about one band. Just stay up with the type of style. Until recently, I didn't realize that house music was the #1 music in the world for 20 years. I had no idea, because I don't do house music. I'm not particularly at clubs during that time of my life, and so I didn't realize, significant even to this day, but it was, I have a friend who's, a founder of house music, and I didn't realize what he did was so big in the world until just about a month ago. But I scanning through some stats, looking at data, looking at award shows. So definitely listen to young people, compare new music and talk about it. Don't be afraid to talk about it. Scan the awards show. And then here's one of the creative things you can do. Write new music in new styles that challenge yourself. And by new styles, I don't mean the latest thing you heard, keeping up in music. I mean, write music that grabs some style from another era, because everything eventually cycles through in some way or another. I was listening to Spanish hip hop, which had this, it's like bandolero music or something for like 70 years ago. It was in part of a hip hop song. I was like, I can't believe that's in the background, amongst the big beats and stuff like that. But I just heard it this week. And so music is always being used again. If you would spend some time writing music that takes things from different elements and not just, hey, same old riff, 1, 6, 4, 5 or whatever it is, then you would find that you are writing music that, oh, this actually when you put these two together, it sort of sounds like this band meets this group, and now here's this new thing, and you're actually staying current on music. Maybe you're actually writing a hit song that is current because you've done multiple styles and you've worked through all of the things that a young person is doing as they get that input from all over the styles, you know. So you want to listen to young people. If you want to stay current in music, listen to young people. You compare some of the songs you're hearing and just talk about it, write about it, think about it a little bit. Scan the award shows and see what the charts and the different things are being awarded, that kind of music. And then write about it. Write songs that incorporate styles, and maybe even styles you haven't heard for a while. I predict a 20-year cycle as I've been watching music for 30, 40 years, and I see a 20-year cycle that comes back around. So 90s music currently, as I write this, is now been out a couple years, you know, it's now 2021. And then number 5, this one's important, travel. When you travel, you will see how people actually respond to music out in the world. And you will hear, if you travel to the right places, they're not just like, you know, if you're a Buddy Holly fan, you go to the Buddy Holly reunion every year. That's not really traveling to other music. Although I am going to go to the Iowa convention where they have all the Buddy Holly stuff where he passed away. So it's being open to these styles. If you're already doing the other things, you're open to some styles of music. And then you start to notice, like, you're going through the airport and this person's music's not irritating. It's new. It's different. You go to the restaurant, you're like, well, I don't know any of these songs. Like, well, that's a Peruvian restaurant. I don't know this music. Like, here's something. What is it about it, the style of music that you're hearing and how people interact with the music? So going to a place where there's a variety of music, or going to a variety of places, ultimately lets you be able to hear through my life, you know, a 10-year-old playing guitar better than I ever have in Mountain Home, Arkansas, just like, and fiddle players and stuff, you know, totally different from going to Miami and hearing a conglomeration of Latin music and Cubano, different styles of jazz, and things that you just like, I don't think I understand this. And then New Orleans with its style. But if you travel, you will hear and see how people in the airport, in restaurants, just on the streets, you'll hear how people interact with music, and that will keep you current on what's happening, because this is real people doing it. So rather than just, you know, if somebody says, how do you stay current in music? Like, oh, you know, I read the trades, I make sure I know, you know, the latest top star, I know who's the best band, I know how to talk about that band, I read all the reviews of their records. You know, that's a way to do it. I'm just saying the fun way is to listen to young people, compare the music and talk about it, scan the trades and I think the award shows and film as well on TV, because that's where music's coming from more. And then always write music that draws from another place. And then ultimately the fun part, travel. Travel is the place to meet new people, find new horizons, and pretty soon you're not just keeping up with current music, you are making current music. So that's some 5 tips from Live with Dr. Ken. Appreciate you tuning in here. Check out visible.edu. Send yourself or some friends along for some training. Don't be afraid to be trained in music. That's awesome. That's coming up in one of my future episodes. And like and share. Let people know about it and send them to Live with Dr. Ken. Thanks so much for joining us.